Welcome back, all. It's Sharon Toerek with the Innovative Agency Podcast. So happy to be back here with you again this week. And I'm looking forward to this conversation because it blends a couple of my favorite nerdy things, which you'll understand more about in a minute. If you've listened in the past or ever had a conversation with me, you know I love to talk about agencies who develop their own IP. And I'm so grateful to today's guests for suggesting that we cover that in the conversation because I think it's important. But we're also going to talk about something that is touching all of your agencies, but maybe not to the depth that equates to the amount of attention that you've got the bandwidth to pay to it, and that is the changing landscape regarding data privacy and what it means for you and your agency to have to be aware of it and to be a partner with your client in protecting it, collecting it, manipulating it to get them the business results that they need. And here to help us understand it all and to share some experiences from running his own agency, developing that agency's own IP, is Aaron Burnett, who is the CEO and founder of Wheelhouse Digital Marketing. And Aaron, I'm really looking forward to today's conversation. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. I am too. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So not every agency focuses or almost exclusively focuses on clients who are in very data rich and data sensitive industries. And you've made a strategic decision as an agency owner to niche in an area where the sensitivity of data is extremely front and center, and that is healthcare. What are some of the other data-rich industries that your agency serves that might involve more sensitive data on a routine
Yeah,
basis?
there are really two on which we concentrate. One is healthcare. The other is medical device manufacturing. In healthcare, it's a number of different flavors, everything from very large insurance providers to healthcare systems to networks of clinics. And then, as I said, medical device manufacturing. There are other agencies that also are touched by privacy first regulations, but those two really tend to be dealing with the most restrictive and most onerous regulations. They also deal with the tapestry of regulations that occur at multiple levels in government, both domestically and internationally. So there we talk about Department of Health and Human Services and their regulations around HIPAA. And HIPAA has been expanded to cover an awful lot of the data that previously was used for digital marketing. We have FTC enforcement of privacy regulations, and we have a tapestry of state level privacy regulations. I think that we're up to 21 states with their own data privacy regulations, with 17 or so more with regulations somewhere in the legislative process. And then for
Right.
some of our clients that deal internationally, they're also grappling with GDPR. So there's a lot to do there.
There is a lot to do there, and I definitely want to get into what it means to be an agency that partners with its brand clients to figure out how to use the data in a way that's compliant but also effective. But before we get there, I want to first, because you and I had a really brief conversation before we hit record today, and one of the things that we talked about was strategy, and specifically strategy around developing focus or niche for your agency. Um, I've had conversations with other guests about this. I'm obviously a believer. I myself own a business that's highly niched. But you made a specific decision to niche in an industry that has a lot of really it has a very high bar for regulatory compliance. And so,
Mhm.
how did that happen? Did you happen to just start serving those clients and then have to develop the expertise around the data privacy, or were you focused on developing IP or knowledge around data privacy and became attractive to those types of clients? So kind of which
Yeah.
was the chicken and the egg in your situation?
Well, I'm going to choose option D, which is all of the above.
Okay.
The way that it worked, I founded Wheelhouse in 2010. So we're a 15-year-old agency.
Hmm.
And for the first dozen or so years, we were like most entrepreneurial-led agencies. We served all of our clients and we got lots of referrals and we grew very quickly through referrals. But we were also in, I don't know, 8, 10, sometimes 12 different industries. Sometimes we had 40 different clients in all of these different industries. And we
Mhm.
liked the variety, but we never could seem to break out of a certain level of growth.
Mhm.
And in 2022, a few things happened. We had been talking about the need to specialize, to declare a niche. And the precipitating factor there was we thought, we had witnessed that as we specialized, as we focused in other parts of the business, the more we focused, the more we said no to, the better we were. So we
Mhm.
thought, okay, uh, the wisdom in the industry is if you focus and if you niche down, you will become known for that niche. You will build a brand. You will be sought out for what you know how to do. So
Mhm.
that was the impetus. But the other thing that happened is that as we grew, and we grew through referrals, we already started working with healthcare systems in 2012. And people moved from that healthcare system to other clients. And lo and behold, a majority of our revenue in 2022 came from healthcare and medical device manufacturers. So we
Mhm.
were already there without realizing it. And then the final push was that at the end of 2022, HHS came out with new regulations related to digital advertising for what are called HIPAA covered entities. And
Right.
without going into all of the detail of that, the net effect was to render virtually all third party tracking a HIPAA violation. So the Meta Pixel, Google Analytics, Google Ads pixels, everything that you would use for programmatic advertising, all of that couldn't be used. We had already developed an enterprise grade analytics approach that was HIPAA compliant, and we'd already implemented it on a very large healthcare system 3 years prior.
Mhm.
So we had technology that differentiated us. We had a history of doing a hard thing with large healthcare systems. We had a desire to niche down. And then the final thing is that we also had a thesis that the privacy regulations that are most restrictive for healthcare and medtech today are coming for everybody. That you
Mhm.
need only look at the data breaches that occur and the fines that have to be paid and consumer sentiment around how their data is protected or not protected to understand and conclude that, okay, this is coming for everybody to a greater or lesser extent. And so if we can continue to build a reputation for being able to deliver exceptional performance in a highly sensitive, data constrained set of industries, that puts us in very good stead as those same dynamics begin to encroach on other industries.
Right. So that is a really excellent explanation of the path that you took to being niched, and which sounds like a little bit of magic and a lot of intentionality. All kind of happened in the same order to get you
Mhm.
um, the focus that the agency has today. Um, so now now you are focused. Now you are niched. You've
Mhm.
doubled down on that, and I assume that it is having the results that you wanted for the agency. And I'm wondering, is the technology that you developed along the way, was that something that you had to create to serve a particular business, serve a particular client or solve a particular business problem along the way of doing your regular fee for service work? Or were you intentional about creating a solution you could deploy for all your clients in the data
Yeah.
privacy space?
Again, a bit of a combination. We have three sort of technology platforms or technology solutions that we have. We also have a patent granted for some of our technology. And so the first is a HIPAA compliant data solution. We developed that in response to a problem that a client brought to us and
Mhm.
deployed on behalf of that client. But we were careful in our agreements to say we are deploying this as fee for service, but we also retain the right to the IP. We also have a HIPAA
Y'all can't
compliant.
see the big smile on my face right now, the big lawyer grin I'm flashing at Aaron as he's explaining this. Okay, go on, Aaron. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. We've been thoughtful and careful about that. We've also had excellent clients.
Yeah.
We also developed a HIPAA compliant data warehouse. And that was in response to a client need as well. Same contractual provisions. This is
Mhm.
for you. You get a non royalty bearing perpetual global license for this, but the IP is ours.
Mhm.
And then so both of those were in response to client needs. We have a third technology platform that we use called Lighthouse, which is an enterprise grade search strategy platform. And we developed that on our own. That was our impetus. We recognized the limitations of the current set of tools and also the relative sophistication of our strategists and what they needed, and develop that platform for ourselves.
Okay. So the first two of the three, did you create these solutions to be responsive to one particular client's need, or was this sort of an amalgam of problems you'd solve for multiple clients that led you to create those resources?
In the case of the HIPAA compliant data solutions, that was for one particular client's needs, a
Okay.
very large healthcare system. And that was created because that particular healthcare system was very farsighted.
Yeah.
3 years prior to HHS guidance that had this effect on third-party tracking, this healthcare system said, we think that this is going to be a problem. And
Okay.
we're going to put ourselves in a position where we control our own destiny, and no third party, we won't be vulnerable to a third party either taking data away
Mhm.
or to a third party not being a good steward of the data they collect, or a third party changing the data they collect. So kind of this may be a little bit dramatic way to put it, but it's not too far off the point. Kind of the dirty secret of third-party tracking and third-party pixels is that what is collected is governed by a data library that is fully within the control of the third party. And
Mhm.
so even if a compliance team goes through and says the metapixel is fine, what they collect is just fine today, tomorrow Meta can change what they collect and it might not be fine. And you
Right.
won't know, by the way, unless you're actively and deeply technically auditing. And
Mhm.
so, again, really far-sighted development and strategy on the part of this healthcare system that we realized when this new guidance came out was the perfect solution for lots of people in this space.
I am so this is a fascinating jumping off point for the next question I want to ask you, which is that, well, let me just lay the scenario out for you. I'm imagining that agency owners and leaders who are listening to our conversation, and I've had this firsthand experience with talking to hundreds of them, they undervalue or they don't um, spend the time or make the space to consider what they're creating and how to leverage it beyond just the client relationship. Sort of the default conversation goes a little bit like this. Well, yeah, we've created this great solution. It's technology enabled. We've developed it in-house, or we have strategic partners who've done it with us and we own it. But we've done it for the client, and it's ultimately our default assumption is the client's going to expect to own it at the end of the day. And therefore, it's not really our IP. It's something that we created in a fee for service relationship. So we kind of look at it as a work for hire.
Mhm.
How did you, so the reason why I'm asking this is I want to know, how did you walk through the conversation with your client who's paying you for all the great work that you're doing for them around ownership and long-term leveraging or manipulation of the IP that you created? Because you did it in
Sure.
response to a business opportunity or problem that they brought to you. So
Sure.
walk me through for the benefit of the agency owners out here who maybe aren't sure that this would fly with their clients, how you had the conversation.
So it starts with a topic that I've heard you discuss on a recent episode, and that is trust. The scarcity in the world and in the agency space in particular is trust.
Mhm.
We have very deep bonds of trust with our clients. We operate in a fairly unusual way for an agency. The core values that animate the way that we engage with our clients and with one another are helpfulness and generosity. We tell our clients, we're going to help you. The things we help you with may or may not be in our statement of work, but we'll be generous with our time and our expertise and our resources. We'll probably do work you're not paying us for explicitly, but we'll look out for your best interests. We'll rely on you to look out for our best interests, just like the nice people we were before we came to work. And the
Mhm.
money side will work itself out. And because our relationships with clients are very long, our average client tenure, I think, is about 6.5 years right now,
Okay.
we already have strong bonds of trust. And so the conversation isn't a negotiation, it's a chat. It's okay, we're doing this. We think this has applicability to other people. We'd like to retain the IP, but we don't want to do anything that disadvantages you. Is there a way that we can structure this so that you're protected, and we also have the benefit of this work that we're doing for you. And it's just a pretty easy conversation. In the case of the healthcare system, it's a very innovative healthcare system. They actually want other healthcare systems, particularly in non-competitive geographies, to benefit from the innovative work that they do. And so not only did they allow us to retain the IP, they helped us to evangelize the solution when the HHS guidance came out. In the case of the HIPAA compliant data warehouse, same sort of thing. It was a conversation about, okay, we understand we don't want you to use this for a competitor or potential competitor, but we also understand that it's beneficial for others in the industry. And so that's the agreement. And we have had occasion to uh, be approached by prospective clients who we think may be tangentially competitive. And we go back to those clients and say, hey, we're talking to company X. They are kind of in your space. We don't think they're competitive. What do you think? And occasionally the answer we get is no, no. The thing you don't know is they are competitive in this specific way. And so we don't want you to work with them. And we respect that. And then there are other instances where it's just fine. And so it's we benefit from a series of behaviors and decisions and actions that prove that we are trustworthy and that we trust our clients. And so this was not contentious at all. There were no concessions on either side. We didn't discount the cost of a project to retain IP. We just said, we want this to be good for you. We want it to be good for us as well. Let's think about how to write that down in a way that works.
It's interesting because it's really a blend of a couple different issues that agencies typically face when they're having these conversations with clients or prospective clients. You mentioned trust building. That is key because it perhaps and correct me if I am incorrect, if I'm wrong about this, but if you didn't have that bond of trust already built with the client, then it might have not been received in the same spirit by them that you wanted
That's
to
right.
create a solution, but also let them use it, but also own it yourself and possibly allow others in the market to use it. So there's trust, I'm hearing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hearing confidence too. And I want to talk about that for a minute because I'm curious to get your perspective. Is the confidence part of it just a mindset of yours and your teams? And by that I mean, do they confidence in the solution that you're about to bring to the table or confidence in the strength of the relationship? I suppose it could be all of the above, but do you feel like it's mindset as well when you have those conversations with the client about who's going to own the work at the end of the day that the agency is creating?
I think so, but I think the root, the foundation for the confidence comes from something else. It actually comes from uh, being confident that we're doing the right things for the right reasons.
Mm.
And so it comes, I mentioned a couple of our values. We are very much a values driven agency.
Yeah.
And we are confident that the decisions that we're making are ethical and correct and fair because we refer back to our values, particularly for the hardest decisions. And
Mhm.
so there's no theater. You can go to a client and say, listen, I want this to be a win-win. This is going to be great for you. It's going to be great for me. And you can do it as part of a sales patter, but people can smell that.
Yeah, it
And
doesn't feel authentic. I agree.
no, not at all. And so I think the confidence just comes from feeling like we're certain that our motivations are good
Hmm.
and that we're being transparent and authentic about what we're trying to achieve. And we're not manipulating anybody. We're not trying to create a context in which the client we hoodwink them. We write something in a particular way that gives us backdoor access to IP, even though they think they own it, but we've constrained their ownership that has some limitations that maybe they didn't realize. It's just so open and transparent that our confidence is we're just being nice people. We're going to
Yeah,
rely on you to be nice people.
right. Nice people who understand the business problem and have a solution to bring to the table that will not only help the client, but other people in the market later on down the line,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, I think, and the reason I asked the question is because I think that, I want agency owners to understand that even though this feels like a long play, of a long game, that having an open mind around what your opportunities are around creating your own proprietary solutions not only opens up additional revenue pathways for the agency, but it it cements the bond in a different way or adds a new layer to the bond that you have with the client that you're already serving if you created the solution originally to help them address a problem or an opportunity.
Mhm.
So I always have to stop myself from evangelizing about this a little bit too much, but I so wanted to talk about this with you because I think agencies underestimate the opportunities sitting there in front of them. Their agencies are IP factories. I
Right.
mean that in the purest sense of the word. And so I always like to highlight an example of it when I see it. And I appreciate you being generous about discussing how you handle it in the client conversation because
Yeah.
agencies, are reticent about it as well as about exclusivity and, fair competition conversations that they have with clients about other brands they may wanna serve, down the road, and it all kind of interrelates, but, you're
Yeah.
navigating it well, and so I always like to highlight those examples.
There's
Um,
there's one more point that I would make about IP
yeah.
that was part of our original thesis and the reason for investment, but it's taken us a while to learn. That is part of the reason that we invested in our own IP is that we're relatively small and we need concrete differentiation in market. There
Mhm.
has to be a reason why someone would select a small agency like us versus some big holding company agency with a brand name
Yeah.
that everybody recognizes.
Mm.
Part of that's going to be specialization, but it's also really helpful for us to have a concrete point of differentiation. And IP does that for us. We have a thing other people don't have. And
Mhm.
so if a VP of marketing has to go to the CEO or someone else and say, this is why I chose this agency, they can say they have this thing and they have this thing. And another agency doesn't have that. So that was
Mhm.
part of it. But the second thing that took us longer to realize is that we initially, I would say and then I perpetuated it, thought that technology would be profitable in its own right, that clients might want to pay us so much for use of the data warehouse and our ability to integrate and harmonize data from disparate sources and to develop insights based on that data warehouse, that this would be a profit center in the company. And it's
Mhm.
all right, but that's not actually how it works. It's the services built around the data warehouse that have value. And
Mhm.
it's our ability to deliver exceptional results in our other practices based on the insights we get from the data warehouse that are where
Got
the
it.
value is. So it's a different way of looking at the tech. We don't necessarily invest in the tech and say that's going to return 50% margin.
Mhm.
No, that's going to help us return exceptional results in other parts of the business that are part of the reason why our client tenure is so long and why people select us and why we deliver exceptional results. And that mindset shift for me uh, took longer than it should have.
I think that that's important to call out. And I can think of examples of agencies who probably have had the same experience with their own proprietary research, industry research. They make the investment of knowing a thing or learning a thing and leveraging that information better than so it's to a point where the client really needs the access to that data, that they've gone out to market to collect and interpret. Same thing. It may not be profitable in and of itself, or maybe it does okay, to your point, but they don't do it so they get in the business of selling research results. They do it because potential clients need the information or will be able to strategically leverage that information that they wouldn't have
Right.
access to, right?
Right.
So, yeah. Fascinating stuff. Well, let's talk for a minute or two about data privacy and the crazy landscape, this is my legal opinion, nothing else, of the US in terms of data privacy standards. And by that, I mean lack of a sort of a federal construct currently.
Mhm.
or standard for managing data privacy. We would all, big business, small business, legal, marketing, would all, I think, align on preferring to have to follow one set of rules over
Mhm.
50 sets of rules. But we're not there yet. And so you're doing this on behalf of your clients, in addition to probably following international regulations. So, first of all, how do you and your team keep on top of all of the things that you need to know about being compliant? Um, Especially given the sensitivity of the client industry that you serve. What do you have an overall approach or ethos, or culture in your agency around this? And if so, tell us a little bit about how you just, first of all, stay on top of it, because
Sure.
it's a lot to manage.
Yeah, it is a lot to manage. And really, it comes down to reading a lot every day, not just me, but lots of folks in the company, and then sharing that information. We use, like most agencies, we use Slack. We have a channel called Knowledge Share. The Knowledge Share channel is full every day of, hey, I just saw this. There was this ruling in the UK, or this happened with Google, or there was this antitrust action. And so we're constantly sharing that information
Mhm.
um, from a regulatory perspective, and then also paying attention to what's happening at a platform level as well, and all of the changes there. And then we have, even in a compliant environment, or maybe especially in a compliant environment, we spend a lot of time on testing. So, okay, we don't have most of the conventional tools, or we can't go about things in the conventional way that another agency would. We're not going to use third-party tracking in the same way. You can't go out to a platform as you would in another agency and say, I want to target this particular audience, and I'm going to define them demographically and psychographically and geographically. I'll do that in the platform. The platform will find the audience for me. The platform will provide the tracking and performance reporting as well. We can't do any of those things.
Mhm.
And so we've needed to come up with other ways of finding our audiences, optimizing campaigns, and determining performance on the back end that remain compliant.
Got it. What is your advice for an agency owner or leader that isn't, they're not as immersed as deeply as your team needs to be every day, because maybe they serve an industry that isn't as data sensitive as your client industry is, or they serve a bunch of different industries. So they're not living in the world as deeply as your team is living in the world every single day. So where do they start? What's your advice to those leaders or owners of agencies in terms of how to triage all this, and also what kind of conversations they need to be having with their clients about it?
Yeah. Let me repeat back the question I think you're asking. Are you asking me
Please.
my advice for another agency owner considering entering this space?
No, well, not so much entering that space, but how do they know what they need to know, or when they need to ask the questions around data privacy and data privacy compliance, so that when they are implementing some solution or some campaign, or I don't know, it could be a direct response email campaign,
Sure.
and they may not know what they need to know about where those lists came from. I mean, something as simple as that. I mean, what with the way things are changing so quickly,
Yeah.
and the way state law is evolving in the US in particular, you and I are talking at the end of September, in a day or two. There's going to be a couple new state regulations online.
Yeah.
Maryland's going to be potentially more restrictive than California, which I never thought I would see, but
Right.
it changes every day. And so when do they need to stop and say, okay, we need to understand what we don't know, or we need to put the brakes on, or how do they stay on top of this? What are some of maybe your top two or three tips for them on what questions to ask and when to ask them?
Sure. Okay. Um, in no particular order, because each of these things is very important.
Yeah.
Pay attention to the leading industry organizations in the space. So, for example, the IAPP,
Mhm.
International Association of Privacy Professionals, publish a lot of research and have a number of working bodies as well. They stay abreast of what's happening not just in the US, but also globally. get a good attorney who pays attention to this stuff and can alert you to what's happening. We have a law firm on retainer. We didn't for a long time. And then when we
Mhm.
specialized in this area, we did because there's so much happening.
Right.
And then honestly, there is no substitute for reading. Find people you can follow on LinkedIn, maybe discover on LinkedIn, find podcasts who are speaking to industry experts. Industry experts have a number of different stripes. And I would say to that extent, find a data source or multiple data sources or information sources who aren't just talking to the same sort of person.
Mhm.
So don't just find a podcast talking to agency owners who work in the space because we're in our own little bubble.
Yeah.
Find a podcast talking with attorneys and talking with compliance experts and talking with performance marketers and talking with brand marketers and technologists. All of these different facets come into play.
Mhm.
I would say if you're going to focus, if you're working with a client in a privacy first industry where data regulations are coming into play, understand the risks associated with the privacy regulations at play, consider whether you want to take on those risks. So, for example, in our space, we sign what's called a business associates agreement with healthcare entities that obligates us to the same privacy regulations and risks if we breach those regulations as a hospital system.
Mhm.
And those are real penalties with real dollars and reputational risk against them.
Right.
And some people may look at that and say, I don't know that I need to think about that when I'm going to sleep at night. I'll stay over here where I need to be sort of cognizant of privacy regulations, but not so fully invested. So consider kind of whether for your agency, a client in this space might be a disproportionate distraction or is worth it and is an area that you want to go into. It's you can't dabble in serving clients in privacy first industries. You either know it and you do it the right way, or you don't. And you make a prudent decision and you find someone else who specializes in this area, or at least has a strong practice or track record in this area. And there are two reasons, one of which I touched on, which is just the complexity and the risks associated with it and the obligations that you have to sign up to. But the other is that it is a fundamentally different animal than standard digital marketing or performance marketing. So
Mhm.
think of being a performance marketer and you have no third party tracking on your site. You need
Right.
a different means by which you collect data. We replace all third party tracking with what's called a private client ID. It's an identifier unique to a healthcare entity. It doesn't exist outside their ecosystem. We have
Mhm.
to create a system that has injection blocking so nothing can get through. There's no analytics payload from somebody embedding a YouTube video in the blog or something like that. We need to cleanse all URLs of any potential healthcare related information because one of the things that is a violation is the combination of I looked at a page that was about cancer and a platform can kind of guess who I am. That's
Mhm.
a HIPAA violation. And then we need to control what's shared with third party platforms down to a single data attribute level.
Mhm.
And we can't, for the most part, use third party tracking. We can't target audiences in the same way. We need our own internal performance tracking. It's a fundamentally different thing to do. And it's a hard thing to do. So either you focus and you really go into it and you can, or you choose not to and you stay in this territory where you have more degrees of freedom.
Yeah, I respect you laying it all out that way because in my experience, agency owners tend to be pretty comfortable with risk in most situations. And that may mean varying degrees of inquiry into what the consequences or the realities of actually promising a client you're going to be responsible for something that you may not have enough at bats in to realize the depth of the risk around, right? And I don't mean that pejoratively. I just mean if you serve those clients all the time, then you understand what the questions are and the patterns are because you see them every day. If you don't serve them
Right.
all the time, you might see them a couple times a year, not every day of every month of every year. And that's also it's a good segue into what I was going to ask you around how you have the conversation with your clients. I think I know how you're going to answer this, but I'm not going to tip my hat. How do you have the conversation with your clients around who is going to assume responsibility for all of this and who's going to clean problems up if and when they occur, if data issues go sideways?
Yeah. Well, so that's a formal part of a business associates agreement. So
Hmm.
that's documented. It's a part of either a standard or a negotiated BAA. This is what happens if there's a breach.
Hmm.
Right down to if there's a breach, you have this many hours to tell us, and you have this many hours to do a full investigation and give us the findings, and you have this many days to come up with remediation. And if it becomes a legal issue, then here are your obligations. It is all negotiated and determined in that agreement beforehand because the risks and the consequences are so significant.
Do you find that when you're presented with that set of parameters, that it's a conversation, or do most large clients have a preset idea about what they expect you to be responsible for, and there's not a lot of back and forth around the parameters?
No, there's a surprising amount of back and forth,
Yeah.
in part because this is a kind of a new dynamic. The guidance at the end of 2022 suddenly made BAAs the lingua franca of the agency world if you're helping covered entities.
Mhm.
And so, both on the client side and the agency side, we all needed to take a hard look at BAAs. And okay, now we're signing BAAs because we're under obligations that we didn't think we were before.
Right.
Um, and partly because there isn't, there's a lot about this that is unsettled. You
Right.
have guidance from HHS, but you don't have much in the way of case law that's based on violations. And it's the case law that creates clarity around what you have to do and what you don't have to do. And so
Mhm.
we have lots of conversations about, listen, this bit doesn't seem fair. And we're actually not doing the thing that you say we might do here. And because of that, we shouldn't be exposed to this particular provision that would require us to do these things.
Mhm.
And in part, probably because of the nature of our relationship and as a byproduct, the kinds of clients we have, those are pretty reasonable conversations. We have only once come to an impasse on a BAA, and that was with a very large health insurance provider. And it
Mhm.
was over a question of unlimited liability. If we were even a part, like, wasn't even our fault. We were just kind of around when it happened. We were part
Mhm.
of the ecosystem associated with a data breach. And that just on its face didn't make any sense.
Mhm.
We still worked with them. We just found a way to work with them in which we weren't exposed to PHI. And so
Got
we
it.
didn't need a BAA.
Well, I think that was an important conversation for you and I to have, because I want to make sure that agencies who are contemplating entering into BAA or similar feeling understandings with their clients understand they have leverage and understand that it shouldn't be a knee-jerk reaction to either sign or don't sign. And that it's a give and take, and there's lots of questions you need to be thinking about asking about what the scope of work's going to be, what's reasonable for you, and what you're actually will to your point earlier, what you're willing to assume responsibility and risk around, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, where do you feel agencies are the most vulnerable? We're in, towards the end of 2025 as we're talking, and um, I'm not seeing any indication of our movement towards a federal standard in the United States anytime soon. But we are seeing more activity at the state level
Yeah.
recently than we've seen in the last few years. So, do you have a point of view as a practitioner in this area, or as somebody who owns an agency that is specializing in data heavy client needs, about where the regulatory landscape is headed and what it will mean for agencies? I'd love to get your point of view as an agency owner on that.
Yeah. So I'll answer it kind of through a side door, which is I'm not sure necessarily about, well, I'll give you the long term view. Whether we do or don't arrive at a federal standard, I don't know. I would guess that we will. I don't know the timeline just because I
Yeah,
feel like everything at a federal level is so unpredictable right now. I couldn't really tell you what's going to happen 5 minutes from now.
agreed.
But I do think that what's true is that the platforms are getting ahead of this for once because there's such a lack of certainty, and because there's such a patchwork, and because of some of the federal cases, and in particular the antitrust actions against major platform providers in the case of Google, and because Meta has taken repeated black eyes for their hyper aggressive data collection and processes and some of the nefarious things they do. The
Mhm.
platforms actually are preemptively introducing restrictions. So, for example, in the case of Meta, they introduced, I think it was 14 what they designated sensitive categories, and healthcare was one. And if you're in a sensitive category, they say, we don't care what tracking you have on your site. There is some data we're just not going to take from you. We won't
Mhm.
accept the following kinds of data. Anything that's anywhere near our ability to tie a person to a conversion or a person to some content, these things that are unsettled right now in
Mhm.
terms of HHS guidance, we're just going to tell you you can't do. Google is making similar moves, although they're one step forward, one step sideways, one step back, who knows? But again, they're headed in that direction as well. And so I think whether regulation gets there first or the platforms get there first, I think we are over the next few years going to get to a point where we have a common standard imposed upon us and a common set of privacy restrictions that we all need to adhere to. I also think, and this isn't really much of a prognostication, I think that a privacy first brand being a steward of consumer data
Mhm.
will become a brand attribute. Apple has made these kinds of noises, and it's kind of in the background around their ethos. But I can see a point in the not too distant future where being the decent actor in the marketplace is an important brand pillar and something that people champion.
Interesting. Yeah, I feel like we're seeing I love your take on this. I feel like we're seeing a convergence right now between a few things, two of which you just mentioned, which are the platforms being preemptive about building these policies and tools um, into their software, into their systems. So it's the platforms making changes, sua sponte on their own, and it is some state movement on regulations. Um, and also consumers seem to be getting a little bit more active about
Mhm.
enforcing or asking questions around their own data and how particular warehouses of that data are using it, manipulating it, or being more active about exercising their options out of some of those things.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if you feel like your clients are experiencing the same right now.
Um, we definitely see the same thing. I think
Mhm.
our perspective ends up being a little bit different because our clients are compliant.
Mhm.
And so we're already being very careful about those sorts of things. And so they don't tend to be pasted with the same sort of, let's say, demand letters from attorneys or
Right.
risk of enforcement actions. I do wonder, though, one of the things that we've not talked about is AI. I have wondered for a while if a catalyst
We're getting
to
there.
a federal standard is something that pops up in AI that
Mhm.
is based upon training data that is highly personal, that is as upsetting as the family that received targeted advertising for pregnancy
Mhm.
based on a pregnancy test, which was such a catalyst for attention to data privacy years ago.
I feel I am glad we're taking a turn there because I do want to sort of ask you about what you're seeing ahead for use and leverage of data, and what challenges are created by incorporating AI into all of that. But when it comes to any sort of policy change or um, momentum towards, standards at a federal level, it was interesting to me to see. when sort of Chat GPT got democratized, if you will, like 2 years ago, everybody sort of started waking up to the commonality of the uses of this tool, how policymakers at the federal level started all of a sudden waking up around, well, maybe we need to be thinking about how we're going to regulate some of this, and mostly from the cybersecurity
Right.
perspective or the national security perspective, not so much from the consumer privacy perspective, but I do wonder. They moved on it with such fast speed that I was kind of not amused, but I was kind of surprised that it moved as quickly as it did initially when we've been waiting for years for a national data privacy conversation to turn itself into some sort of policy that we could actually apply. So I think you might be right. I think maybe one might bump into the other, and
Mhm.
maybe there'll be some synergy there and it'll create a higher degree of likelihood of there being some commonality around the way we're expected to address this everywhere in the US,
Yeah.
like in Europe.
Yeah. I do. I do also wonder. Um, I wonder if it will be something that happens in the commercial space or something that
Hmm.
happens actually at the federal space. Because at the same time that there is what sometimes to me seems like theater around data privacy and AI,
Hmm.
you also have contracts with Palantir giving them access to and a mission to stitch together individual data
Yeah.
so that it can be mined by AI. And I suspect that most people don't really quite understand, not that I claim that I fully understand, but the implications of knitting together all of the data that exists at a federal and private level into a master persona for every person in the United States and what that might mean.
Hmm. Do you have, given that you serve the industries that you do, healthcare, medical device, other data sensitive clients perhaps, what is your what are you the most worried about, I guess, if you are, in terms of how introducing AI into the processing, the manipulation, the generation of data and the marketing that goes around it? What do you think poses the biggest risks to your clients and to your agency, whether it's from a brand perspective or a data integrity perspective, or what do you think the biggest challenges or worry points are going to be?
Yep. All right, so let's start kind of externally in the search environment. I think the biggest worry is inaccurate information. I
Mhm.
was reading just yesterday survey data asking people how frequently they went to AI over the last 6 months versus 2 years ago or 18 months ago for medical information, then juxtaposing that with the frequency with which AI was inaccurate.
Mhm.
And obviously, a massive rise in the percentage or the number of instances in which consumers go to AI to ask for information, and a massive rise in the extent to which that information is incorrect. And some very clear accounts. It was a New Yorker article that I was reading. Very clear accounts of people who'd gone to AI and gotten not just inaccurate information, but really dangerous information, and show up at the hospital having, in one instance, a fellow went to ChatGPT and asked for a substitute for salt because he had been his doctor had suggested that he reduce his salt intake. And AI told him bromide was a really good, bromine was a really good substitute for salt. So he ordered it and started consuming it and got very, very sick and went to the hospital and they had no idea what was happening. And they were in the hospital able to replicate that result with ChatGPT. So I worry about that. And as a consequence, we don't use AI to produce content for our clients. We're in a
Mhm.
context where accuracy really, really matters, should be sacrosanct, and also authorship and authenticity really matter. So we use it a lot within the agency, but we don't produce content. So that's sort of thing one. Thing two is that um, use of AI on top of, and this would be an improper use, on top of consumer data stores will be really problematic. And here, again, because HIPAA guidance is directional, it's a regulatory framework, and there are these publications that are issued periodically, and this is advice This is guidance. Guidance is the word that I was searching around for in my brain.
Yep.
Guidance is issued, but it's not concrete. You should generally do this. There are organizations that are kind of on the periphery. They're on the cusp of whether they're a covered entity or not.
Mhm.
And if you're a covered entity, then you have to do all these things. And if you're not a covered entity, then you don't have to do those things. Well, there's a certain type of, let's say, medical device manufacturer or someone who doesn't go direct to consumer, but is able to collect some information and they can start to use AI. And that AI can generate content for them very quickly. And they've got maybe a low-level employee checking that content, and something inaccurate goes out. Or something that accidentally exposes personally identifiable information about one of their customers downstream. I worry about that a little bit. And then in the agency space, I think the biggest vulnerability is the commoditization, the devaluation of kind of mid-level services and down. If
Mhm.
you're any kind of digital marketing factory, you're, let's say, a content marketer, and what you do is generate content for your clients, you're in a
Mhm.
super vulnerable position.
Yeah.
Particularly if your brand is not, we generate the highest quality content, the hard stuff that other people can't do. If you're in a kind of a lather, rinse, and repeat business, then I think you're in trouble. Uh,
Mhm.
and so, years ago, even before we repositioned around healthcare and medtech, we positioned around expertise. We will only employ people who are deeply expert. We think expertise has staying power in the
Mhm.
market, but just being able to crank the handle and make more widgets does not.
Mhm. Yeah, I feel like we're in this very, very blurry limbo right now of understanding how to not fall behind by adopting these tools in a way that's going to be additive for our business operations as agencies. I say "are" because it's affecting the legal industry the same way it's affecting the agency world. But and also put ourselves in a position of being educators to our clients, because what I see every day is agencies far ahead of their brand clients in terms of how they understand the possibilities of these tools and solutions, um, but not using them in a way that creates mediocrity
Right.
or dilutes the value of the agency's expertise and whatever they're doing to serve their clients. So it's in some ways, evocative of other challenges that agencies have faced with technology in the past, but in so many ways, it's new territory because there's literally a totally green, empty pasture in terms of regulatory environment around what this is
Yeah.
all going to mean, right?
Yeah.
So fascinating stuff, Aaron Burnett. This has been such a great conversation, and I've learned a lot talking with you, and given, I think, the folks listening a lot to think about just in terms of their own, how they think about and approach data-rich work for their own clients, even if they're not serving industries that are as data sensitive as your client industries are. So I'm so grateful to you for spending time and sharing your expertise today on the conversation. If agencies want to learn more about what you do, what Wheelhouse does, what are some of the best ways for them to learn more?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you very much for the conversation. I enjoyed it as well. They can find us at wheelhousedmg.com. They can email me, Aaron at wheelhousedmg.com. And they can find me on LinkedIn as well. I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Aaron Burnett, Wheelhouse Marketing Group, thank you so much for spending time today. And thanks the rest of you for listening in. Always appreciate you spending your time with us. And we will talk to you in the next episode. Everybody stay well until then.